Well, we just turned the calendar from April to May, and if you're a serious turkey hunter, you know what May means, the late season. Probably my favorite time to hunt turkeys is the late season. Now, we talked in the last video about the lockdown, and the lockdown is really a tough phase. Now, we've got through it, and you know, I actually was able to kill that big giant Tennessee gobbler during the lockdown. But I've heard it over and over and over from people, man, they're just locked down. They ain't gobbling. And you know, y'all went through this last 2 or 3 weeks of really tough hunting. Well, now we're getting ready to go into that last phase that I talk about, that late season phase. And that's when, man, y'all have heard me talk about it being so good. Here in about probably 4 or 5 days, or maybe a week, depending on when you're watching this. I think today's about the 3rd of May. When you start getting into that 6th, 7th, 8th of May on into whenever your season closes, boy, you can really get into some great turkey hunting action. The gobbling picks up, it seems. You're going to hear more birds up in the day, say around that 9 to 1, 2 o'clock time period. So don't overlook that middle of the morning, because that's when everything can just change for you just like that. You can go from the worst season of your life to the best season in just about a week or 2 of hunting, but you've got to be out there and you got to stay after it. So let's talk about hunting that late season. During the late season, I still try to move pretty slow, just like I did during the lockdown phase. I still try to move, you know, kind of take my time, move a little bit slower than what, say, you did, say, the first part of April, the last part of March, if you were hunting in March, when you can really just run and gun, you can just move a lot. Now, you can get away with a little bit more faster movement in the late season, probably more than you could, say, during the lockdown when there was really henned up. But you still want to kind of move a little bit slower just because you have a lot of foliage on. Now you say, well, that don't make sense, because usually if you have foliage on, that means they're not going to be able to see you. You can get away with a lot more movement, and that's true. Your cover gets a lot more, and so your movement can increase a little more. But when they're gobbling, sometimes the sound of their gobble is kind of muffled by all the foliage. So sometimes you think they're further than what they actually are. One thing you're going to find is a gobbler up in the daytime that's really hot. Once you find that gobbler in the late season that's really just turns on, just like a light switch, he turns on, he starts gobbling at you a lot. Usually them turkeys come in pretty fast and they can be dead in about 30 minutes or less. And that's what makes the late season so great. So once you do get a turkey fired up, man, you want to find somewhere to set up quick, because he can come a long way in a very short period of time. So if he's gobbling back at me and he's responding, boy, I try to hit some cover, and I try to sit there and watch and really start focusing on where I think that turkey's going to pop out at, because most of the time they're on you pretty quick. One of the reasons for this is because it's the seeking phase again. They're out there looking for them last available hens. They're out there looking for them hens that they haven't, you know, bred yet. That new girl that they hear in town, which is you, they're interested, because they've bred just about every hen during the lockdown and during the second phase. They've been doing this for a good month or so. Now they want to get them last few hens, because that instinct in them is to breed. So the hens are starting to nest more. We're starting to see eggs. Some of you have been, you know, seeing turkey nests. Some of you have been taking pictures of eggs. We've actually seen some turkey eggs on this trip to West Virginia. Now they're starting to nest. You're seeing hens more out by themselves. Where 2 weeks ago you were seeing them with gobblers. Now you're starting to see them cross fields by themselves. They're staying in the edge of a road. They're staying in the edge of a field because they're nested. Well, when they fly off the roost and they get to feeding a little bit, and then they go back to their nest, guess what that means? That means gobblers are by themselves. That means he's out looking. So when he starts gobbling at you, that usually means he wants to play. That's what makes it so great this time of year. It's bittersweet because, you know, we see the finish line in sight. Turkey season's coming to a close in most places, and it's sad. But if you've had a tough season, if you've had a season that just seems like you're struggling, I promise you, the next 2 weeks is the time you as a turkey hunter needs to be out in the woods, and you need to be out there as much as possible, because your season can go from bad to good really quick. I remember one year, 2008 to be exact, was a terrible season for me. I went all of April and didn't kill a turkey. Turkey season's been open for 20-some days and I still ain't killed one. It was a slap in the face, I'll be honest with you. I mean, you know, especially around home where I know birds and know kind of how they travel and kind of know where they're at, I could not kill a turkey the entire month of April. And I was down and everybody's killing turkeys around me except me, and I just could not get anything to work right. The last week of season, during that late season, it was like you flipped the light switch on. And I killed 3 turkeys in 3 days and tagged out in a 3-day period that last week of season. That's how great the late season can be and how quick that your turkey hunting can change. Late season is a great time, but you want to slow down. You want to soft call still. Just go through there. Be that hen that's moved in that area. Do a lot of clucks and purrs. Do a little soft yelping. Don't get super, boisterous with your calls unless the turkey wants that. And he'll tell you what he wants. If he wants a bunch of cutting, then you cut at him. But most of the time, he's going to want that soft call, and so try to keep it soft unless the turkey gets fired up and he's wanting that really aggressive calling. Then sometimes you got to call aggressive to him. So you just kind of have to take their temperature. But for the most part, you want to keep it soft. You want to set longer. Try to sit in spots. Maybe instead of 25-30 minutes, sit there for about 45-50 minutes to an hour. Then move on to another spot. Concentrate around them field edges, concentrate around them open places where you can hear turkeys and where they can see, because you got to remember the foliage is on more, so you want to try to hunt more open places. You're going to find them late season turkeys are a blast. And to me, there's just nothing like killing the big old gobbler when you see the finish line in sight. And right now is the time when I have shot my biggest turkeys in my life, right in this part. That's when them big 1.5 inch spurs will start dropping during this late season, because them gobblers that wasn't vocal, say 2 or 3 weeks ago, that didn't even make a peep, now they're starting to get vocal, because it's that instinct, it's that thing inside of them. They want to get them last hens, so you got to be that hen. So remember that. Get out there this coming next couple of weeks. It's going to be great. So you stay after it, and if you're having a tough season, it can all change just like that, I promise you. Hey, make sure to subscribe to this channel. Just hit that subscribe button down the corner. I'd really appreciate it. Also, check out all the links below. Check out my online store where you can get shirts and hats and hoodies, and make sure to get your Dell Outdoor hat and support the channel. The hoodies, the shirts, all available in the links below. Check out my box calls and mouth calls at springfevercustomcalls.com, my signature series old slide calls, and all the other great calls available at Spring Fever Custom Calls. Check out SOSO Outdoors. Check out my social media sites, Facebook, Instagram. Come and like and follow that as well, and keep up with me all year long. I'm waiting to see some of them late season gobblers. I know they're going to happen for you. You stay after it, and we're going to get out here in the next couple of weeks and try to get a few ourselves. We'll see you in the next video.